morning. Some of you already noticed, and I've been called a short timer, that my attire, I've reverted back to my non-presidential attire. This is my last Thursday morning with you guys as president. Next week is changing of the guard, so this is the last Thursday I get to ring that bell. And I don't know if any of you noticed, for the last 2 years I've worn long pants and real shoes. This club only deserves, you know, the best impression, because we are the best. Don't need to look like a bum, but anyway, today this is my normal work clothes, so this is what you got, shoes and all. But it's been a great ride. We'll talk more about that next week. Mike Slane has our invocation pledge and Rotary moment.
Please pray with me. Father, we thank you for this beautiful morning, this gathering of friends, and the food you've put before us. We are grateful for all that you've provided, our comfortable lives, wealth, our health, and recognize that it is our obligation to share with the least of us. Please keep us mindful of the Rotary motto of service above self. Please bless this food for the nourishment of our bodies.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In all the things we think, say, and do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
We don't expect you to know that part. My Rotary moment was, I guess about 5 years ago, almost exactly, when I was installed as president of the city of Rotary. It was an honor and a privilege to serve this flag.
He's over here ciphering.
Okay, we got, for guests from other clubs, we've got Steve Mackler over here from Guilford. Yeah. Seth with him over here. Sherry brought Sean Roberts here. Crabtree has Sherry Crabtree, Dawn Crabtree, and Tom Blackwell.
Everybody that's here, raise your hand.
Yeah. Not here right now.
All right. Birthdays, anniversaries. Kevin Barr.
We don't have any anniversaries or birthdays this week, so.
All right. Nobody got older. It's always good. Announcements. I'll send out one more email reminder. Tomorrow's the deadline for changing of the guard. Next Thursday night, no breakfast meeting next Thursday, but Thursday night, 6 o'clock. Proximity Hotel, first class dinner, choice of 3 entrees. We will have our annual changing of the guard banquet. We'll install Emily and her board for the new year, and it'll be a great time, great party, and hope you can make it. If you hadn't, look for another email. There's a link in there, and it's real easy. Nisi's going to be with us.
I'll be there.
Any other announcements? Okay. Buster.
Yeah. $100. All right. Jim Kennedy.
Okay, this is my last. This is going to be my last aerial ad on Happy Dollar. Last Monday, I went up there to do a full-day program. The best part of the program was in the afternoon. You got 2 20-minute sessions all by yourself on the project.
Oh, wow.
So, my God. It was excellent, but boy, it was hot. We had 2 people on a group of 10. Couldn't do the second run because they overheated. Not the car, they overheated. and they just had to bail out the second run. So it was amazing.
So what's the fastest you've ever done?
Well, I wasn't looking a lot at the speedometer. But Michael knows there's a section of the track called the S's. It goes up past the villas. And it's a lot of this, but it's uphill all the way, and then you got a break for free corner. I was at 110 before I started braking and changing them to fourth. So
Actually, I'm not impressed. I did
No.
that in my family stage. Okay, well, there we go.
Before the day of safety bells.
Before the
Two of the kids in the back deck, right?
327 4-barrel Holly car.
I got more than one, so let me give you that. One of the first happy dollar is all the help I got with the service projects this past year. You guys are great. The other thing is I'm going to need help. Maybe Chris, I'll talk to you. You've been very helpful in getting people to do attendance well and how to log it. And I need a refresher course on how to log that stuff. But I enjoy the meeting. I was able to go to my old club, the Tuesday Cardinal Club, and it's great seeing the same faces, and they're all the people that do all this stuff. They greet you, they feel like home. Go visit that club too. It's a really good club. And then the last one is, I can't wait to get out of these quick drives I've been wearing for 4 days. All these kids I've been running around with. We have a really great program at the Camp Woodfield Cub Scout Weevillows Camp. My 9-year-old went through it, and he did so well. And I have 2 older boys, a 14-year-old and 16-year-old, who were Denshies. So we had a great little family outing out in the woods in the 97 degree. But it was a great week.
Well, I look forward to sharing with you all many more milestones in my son's life, but number 1 milestone, sleeping through.
All right.
I'll buy that for $1.
When they get to be teenagers, they won't even get out of bed. Mr. Allen.
We're finally officially beyond the high school years with any kids. Our daughter Grace graduated Sunday, and she was fortunate enough to be your class valedictorian.
Oh, wow.
We're just going to start running it down because kids are in the paper all the time. She won a scholarship to Chapel Hill?
Well, it was a scholarship through a national organization that she'll be going to Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
Well, I hope this puts a smile on your face. It did for me. I was coming down 220 last night, and I looked over near Camp Carefree, near the gate, and there was a wagon, like a covered wagon without the cover, full of hay, and kids on it doing a hayride. It was a picture of delight. And whenever we go out there, we don't get to see the campers. But I just had a sneak peek last night as I was coming down 220, and it was just great to see the excitement and the delight on those kids' faces.
So as you all know, the World Cup is on, and I'm sure like Chris and I, you're watching every game and following it, but that's really just a happy dollar for the U.S.'s amazing win over Ghana.
I'm sure I'll find the dollar somewhere after. I didn't watch the game. I didn't even know the game was going on. But fortunately, somebody let me know just how much Ghana was trashed. And I'm like, ouch. Anyway, but I'm really happy because I live here now, so I gotta root for the whole team. Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, this is just kind of an explanation in advance. If any of y'all see my face in Yes Weekly magazine in the next week or two, it's because I'm serving tonight as a contestant in the Green Hill Art Gallery's Artini. They've picked 8 community chefs, I'd rather call myself that than a mixologist, to make up a unique and artistic and delicious martini. And so we're really hoping that the home team wins. So if you see my face in Yes Weekly, that's why.
Are there any pre-stamped awards on the
Yes, there actually are.
I'm sure this group would like to.
There are 2 ways you can get into this thing tonight down at Green Hill Art Gallery. One is to click on the link and come and,
bear up under the annual meeting, which probably lasts half an hour, and you want to pay. The other way is to just show up at the door, pay $10. But anyway, there are 4 judges. I don't know who they are. One of them is Chip Calloway, and so I think he's going to be taken with our entry. It's called a Monet's Lily Pad, and it's basically a watermelon martini with basil and cucumber. Nice. So it'll just knock your socks off. Yeah, all your food groups.
I think James Bond would be horrified. Cucumbers and Well, everybody knows what the Peter principle is. You know, that people in an organization will rise to their level of competence. Well, Grandpappy always had the corollary to that, which is an ounce of image is worth a pound of performance.
Good advice. Okay, well, we've got a great program today, and before we start with that, we get the pleasure of another new member talk. Last week we had Ben Bracken, and Ben, we won't make you do yours. But Glenn Earlis is going to enlighten us. Glenn?
All right, thank you. First of all, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Glenn Earlis, and it's great to be part of a wonderful group here, and also great to be back in Rotary. As you probably noticed, I'm not from around here, and I grew up in Yonkers, New York, just 30 minutes north of Manhattan. I moved down here to North Carolina about 7 years ago with a national mortgage company who is no longer in business, surprise, surprise. But I mean, I'm married for almost 19 years. I have 2 wonderful children. My daughter Emma, who is 14, is actually on a mission trip down to Atlanta for our church and having a wonderful eye-opening experience down there, you know, seeing God at work. And my son Sam is 12 years old, and he's very active in baseball. Got selected for the first time on the All-Star team, so I'm proud of him and seeing that happen. I'm a big baseball fan, grew up playing a lot of baseball. I also tried out for the Baltimore Orioles back in 1994 as a kind of walk-in when they had open tryouts. So at least, you know, obviously I didn't make it, but at least I can say I still tried out. But love being in North Carolina. I've always wanted to, you know, live down this way. I have family down here that I always visited, and I live currently in Oak Ridge, and I fell in love with the area. Great school systems, great place to raise a family. I'm back doing what I love doing, and when the mortgage crisis happened in 2009, I made a painful decision to get out of the business from what I did for 15 years. Never knew what I was going to do or even figure out, you know, what was going to happen. And then I met Steve Brannon. We worked together at Crown BMW, and then he was, you know, every time he'd come in on Thursday mornings, he'd bring some breakfast to us. I'm like, all right, this is great, you know, getting breakfast here from whatever's left over from Rotary and stuff, and it's like, you know, it's got to be a great group. But I made a decision last year to go back into doing what I love doing, and I joined High Point Bank as a mortgage loan officer. Been there and celebrated my first year this past month. So I'm happy to be part of doing what I love doing and making a difference in people's lives. I'm happy to be part of Rotary again. I was a very active member up in Glen Burnie, Maryland, where I was a chairperson on one event, and we did several things as well, and we had a lot of fun, you know, in getting involved in the community and in Rotary. So thank you all for accepting me in your group, and I hope to be a good Rotarian. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Welcome to the club.
Thank you.
Look forward to your strong back. Let's see, Emily, how we want to introduce
Well,
our
he's
well-known
a man
speaker?
who needs no introduction.
I know. How can you introduce David Crabtree? David is our program today, and our resident pastor. We never have any trouble finding someone to say the blessings. David, all yours.
I need the podium, so if I go without notes, it's an hour event. If I have notes, it's an hour and a half. So good to see you all. It's nice to have my mom here. She came up to celebrate her 82nd birthday and to see her 4th great-grandchild. So and I think it's her first first Rotary experience ever, and so I'm awfully glad that I could just baptize her into this crew here, because it's such an enjoyable thing for me to have my wife with me. It's a special time today also with Sherry. Tom Blackwood is my number 2 at Calvary, and also a partner with me in what we're doing in South Africa. And then Barb Moser is our clicker today. She's here to move the slides, but actually Barb runs our lives, and she was so kind to come along and just help us. On the tables, you'll find a copy of a book project I did a few years ago for One Hope, which is a simplified scripture that we pass around the world. This was a donor gift that we sent out. There's about 40,000 of them out there in circulation somewhere or other, but this is the very last of them. In other words, they're out of print and they were sitting in the closet. So I brought them to give to you and use them any way you want. They're just the right size if you have one of those tables that's rocking on the patio and you need something to, you'll see they're just almost perfect for that. So just do what you need to do. Well, I'm going to talk to you about Hope Ride today. And one short month ago, I led a team of riders on a 10-day crossing of the African continent. We rode about 100 miles, 110, sometimes 115 miles, and day after day after day to get across the nation. Here's a map of where we rode, and it'll give you an idea. We started on the Atlantic coast, went through the Free State in the middle, cut between Swaziland and Lesotho and the Drakensberg mountain range, and then dropped into a place called St. Lucia, which was subtropical. And so we saw a little bit of everything. We saw winter weather in Africa. We rode in the mornings at about 38 to 40 degrees. Then it would warm up into the mid-70s, and then we hit some hot stuff along the way. So you really didn't know what you're going to face from day to day. It was quite different. We cycled up mountains and into valleys that were choked with the smoke of morning cooking fires and also a foggy mist that would hang in them. Then you'd climb back out of one of those valleys again into brilliant sunlight, only to drop into the next valley, and it was more of the smoke and the mist. And we rode to the point of exhaustion. There wasn't a person on our team that didn't experience that moment where you know you've pushed beyond all of your boundaries, you've pushed beyond the barriers, and you're operating in no man's land. And just a word about why. This is really why we do what we do. In 2012, I was in Zambia, and I saw the reason that I would start doing some of these epic rides and even riding across a nation, and indeed I would ride around the world if it would make a difference for kids like this. This is the face of Hope Ride. This is the face I captured with a camera in one of about 8 villages that I walked through with one of our missional partners there. This is the face of Hope Ride. He's nameless. He didn't speak my language. We really couldn't connect very much. He's one of multiplied thousands of Zambian children who are caught in a pattern of life that if they survive to adulthood, he will almost certainly have no education. He'll be a farm laborer. He has been born probably to a 12 or 13-year-old mother. He lives in a world that is incredibly dangerous. Life is perilous, and life is short, and life is really cheap. So I ride for nameless kids, people who have no advocate, children who are stuck in some of these little villages in the middle of nowhere with no future. I ride for these kids. I can't fix everything in their world, but I can do something. And really, if we just all look around, we can't do everything. We can't fix, Lord knows we can't fix the problems that we face here at home. But we can do something. And to do something, well, that's a start. For these kids, that something is fresh water. This is our drilling rig. We hope to have 3 or 4 eventually, but this is our drilling rig. It was purchased by Joyce Meyer's ministry. She's a television preacher. You see her out there. She does great work. Whether you agree with her message or her politics or anything along those lines, regardless of all of that, she does what she says she's going to do. And the money that she says is going to go to missions, causes, and organizations, it does. I know because we've worked in partnership with Joyce Myers on 2 or 3 projects. Whenever she says she's going to come through and she's going to help us, she does. And this drilling rig was purchased by Joyce Myers' organization for us. And then we did some training with the crew, and we have got the drilling rig out now, and we're drilling water wells in western Zambia, which is the forgotten part of Zambia. We're focused on unnamed villages on the Zambezi River. We go in and we drill a well, and that means that the village gets clean water rather than parasite-laden, sometimes polluted water from the river. The reason that I couldn't live with what I was seeing in Zambia without doing something was, in this part of Zambia, the children get up in the morning and they go to the river and bring back the buckets of water, where they use the buckets for cleaning, and they use the buckets they use those buckets of water obviously for cooking and all of other needs. The water is dangerous in itself, but in western Zambia, and especially on the Zambezi, they face the dangers of crocodiles. A problem crocodile in western Zambia is a crocodile that has eaten multiple children. And when I heard the stories and talked with our missional partner over there who deals with the game rangers and has been on site and seen firsthand some of these atrocities, in talking with him, I realized, I can't live in a world where children are being eaten by crocodiles and do nothing about it. And I realized that's a big emotional button that I can push trying to raise money. Hey, help us save kids from being eaten by crocodiles. But it's the truth. It's the truth. And it shook me to the place where I said, we have got to do something significant. We've got to make a difference. And so we drill a well in a village. And as we drill the well in the village, the chief will give us permission then to come in and do our Christian work. The Zambezi serves as our highway. We have donated pontoon boats. How many people here in the U.S. have got a pontoon boat sitting in a shelter someplace or sitting out in the back that just doesn't get used? They give them to us. We recondition the pontoon boats. The pontoon boats become our vehicles. And up and down the Zambezi, then we can take Sunday school in and that type of thing on the pontoon boats. And we can deliver to the community. We deliver not only clean water, but we deliver the living water of the Word of God. Plus, we're engaged through those pontoon Sunday schools. We're engaged in meeting basic needs in these communities. This has been one of the toughest areas of the world for missionary work. Just recently, the only other missionary in the region left, discouraged. Their strategy was to try and reach adults. Our strategy is to start with the kids. And so we're trying to reach kids. We're trying to help kids, and we're trying to love our way into these broken communities. I won't talk a lot about the communities over there, except to say it's beyond our comprehension. I've been a lot of places in the world, and I've seen a lot of desperate situations, but nothing prepared me for what I saw in Zambia. And it has so touched me, I want to be back there every opportunity I have. Any resources, U.S. resources that I can bring to bear that would help change the lives for these kids. It really does make an incredible difference. Well, the river looks so beautiful, and indeed it is. This picture was shot from the front of our base in Zambia. This is from the base. We look out over the Zambezi River, so it's a very beautiful place. It's also incredibly deadly. So our Hope Ride funds go to the ongoing work of an organization called Reaching a Generation. That's why I do what I do on a bicycle. Americans are the most generous people in all of the world. The most generous people in all of the world. It's amazing what Americans give. Well, you know this. You know this. And in the last 3 years, on 3 Hope Rides, we've raised more than $180,000 through a bicycle, something as silly as a bicycle ride. $180,000 for the children in Zambia. And this year was our biggest year yet. We've raised to date now with our pledges and commitments $90,000. We already have 71,000 of that in hand, and the rest is coming in. And so it's going to be a huge year for Hope Ride. My goal is to see that go past $100,000 next year, and I just want to do all that I can. This year the ride was epic. It was one of my bucket ride lists. Anyone have a bucket list? All the things you want to do before you kick the bucket? Some of you really need to get started on that. Just a thought. I've got a bucket list, and I just keep adding to it. And recently I added the Big 5 Marathon. Just look it up online. Bobby, you might want to get in on this. I haven't run a marathon in 20 years, but I started training when I got back from Hope Ride. I started training because my middle daughter has got into marathoning. She's done her half. Now she wants to do the big boy. So I'm going to marathon with her, but then I threw this out. I said, after we do that, why don't we go to Africa and run the Big 5 Marathon? And I won't go into that, but look it up online. Big 5 Marathon. It's really epic. Crossing Africa on a bicycle was a bucket list project for me. 5 riders, 1,000 miles, 10 days, Atlantic Ocean to the Indian Ocean. It began at a place called Kleinsia. And here we are standing in the surf, the Atlantic Ocean. That water was so cold, our ankles were turning blue. I'm not kidding you. We stood there, the first wave came in, and everybody who was supposed to be smiling for the camera, their mouths went like, you know, the grommies in a fish tank. It was like, whoa. And if you see, I'm starting to move and the bike's starting to come down, I was the first guy out. It was like, take your picture because I am not standing in this water. It was like a bucket. It was like a bucket of ice. We're smiling here because we haven't encountered the mountains, we haven't encountered sickness and parasites, we haven't encountered the cold, we haven't encountered the heat or the truck or the cows or the exhaustion or the roadworks along the way. We were just starting. This is the morning we left Kleinsia, and our photographer didn't realize he had a filter off on his camera and it wasn't focused, but I still think it's one of the best shots from the entire, because that's exactly what it looked like that morning. And Kleinsia is an abandoned De Beers diamond mining town. There's only about 1/3 of the population that was there at one time, and whole sections of the town have no one in them. And this is in the early morning, and it was really eerie out there, and there was a heavy fog that had just rolled in off the Atlantic. It was a little bit foreboding, but it was a good start that morning. You'll see 4 riders. Our 5th rider was going to join us later. Soon we dropped all of our cold weather gear and we were climbing. And the ocean that you just saw was beyond that last hill, and you can kind of get a sense of where we're climbing. We had 3.5 hours that morning of nonstop climb, and it was never less than 7%. And so we were grinding all morning long up this up the side of this mountain because we had to get up to the African plain, which is at 3,800 feet. And so we basically got on the bikes and we started climbing up into the Kalahari Desert. Once we got there, we found it to be very much like the Old West. And if you go out into the West, you'll see scenes that are really, really familiar. This part of South Africa was strangely familiar, but then the landscape would change. It would change over almost every hill. When the road leveled out, we just found ourselves in the midst of this stark beauty. And it was an amazing thing. At one point, we came over the lip of a hill, and I said to the guy in the truck, the follow truck behind us, I said, stop, let us get out of sight, and just take a panoramic picture. And so he took his iPhone out, and this is what he got. But this is what we're looking at, looking out over the desert, and there is nothing in any direction as far as you can see. So here's my offer to you. If you ever want to truly be alone, see me. I'm the guy who can get you there. I can get you to a state of aloneness that will numb all of your senses. The road never bends, and there's nothing out there for sometimes 60 miles at a time. Day 1 ended at a place called Puff Adder. Puff Adder is a deadly snake over there, but Puff Adder was actually named after a guy whose name was Puff Adder. He was a really bad dude, and they had gunned him down at the crossroads, and because he was so famous or infamous, and they gunned him down there, they named the town Puff Adder. And we stayed at the Puff Adder Hotel, and we ate. Unfortunately, we ate at the Puff Adder Hotel restaurant. It's a place that I will always remember because I picked up a little friend at the Puff Adder Hotel, a little friend who turned out to be an absolute assassin. There were 5 of us. Day 2 began in the cold, in the middle 40s, and I wasn't quite feeling right because of the night before at the Puff Adder Hotel. I knew after I'd eaten what I had eaten there that wasn't settling really good, but I'd slept okay, got on the bike, and everything started well, but before long, I was feeling pretty rough. By the time we hit the next town after 100 miles and hotel check-in, the room was doing this, and I was telling the guys, you just got to get me someplace where I can lay down. I could feel like everything in my system was beginning to, what should I say? Well, explode is a good word. I hadn't been in the room for an hour when I was hit by the most violent gastrointestinal bomb I have ever known in my life. It was volcanic. I have been sick. I've been sick on 4 continents. Nothing compares. Malaysia has absolutely nothing on puff adder. South Africa, nothing. I thought I was going to die in the Dominican Republic, and I hoped that I would die in the Dominican Republic, but it has nothing, absolutely nothing on puff adder. It was volcanic. I rock-starred the room. I mean, I'm sure that room has still got hazmat tape. It was absolutely violent. It was like a combination of The Exorcist and Alien. So, I mean, awful. Couldn't hold anything down or hold anything in. Montezuma, by the way, has a big brother in Africa, and if you think Montezuma wants revenge, you need to meet his brother. He's just the worst. I'll spare you the rest, but I did have this real conversation. I did have a real conversation with our host and helper Jacques around midnight that night, and after the conversation, I thought that was so weird, that was so funny. I actually wrote it down, and I said, Jacques, I think I'm going to need an IV because there's no way I'm going to be able to get fluids back in my system. Jacques said, we can do that. I said, emergency room? He said, no, I can get that at a pharmacy. I said, do pharmacies here in South Africa, do they have people who can put in an IV? He said, no, I can put it in. I said, have you ever done that before? He said, yeah, for animals, it's the same, isn't it? Needless to say, I decided to forego the IV and went with another concoction that the vet had dreamed up. So between a doctor in the U.S. and a nurse on the phone in the middle of the night and a South African veterinarian, I was able to recover somewhat. But I was off the bike completely for day 3. The team went on without me. I couldn't get far from the bed until somewhere midday and then was transported on to the next town, so it was pretty miserable. Lacking wisdom, I got up on day 4 and decided, well, I came here to ride my bike, so I'm going to ride. And so I rode day 4, and I suffered through 100 miles. But I mean, when I got off the bike, I knew that I had probably violated some basic rule somewhere. Day 5, got up in the morning and was hit again with this bacterial thing, and just severely dehydrated, and started a different line of treatment. On day 6. Lazarus came out of the tomb. On day 6, I finally woke up and I felt like a human being again, and on day 6 we were out on the roads and we started climbing, and every day for the remaining 10 days I felt better and better each day, and appreciate some of you were aware through Facebook of what was going on, and if you prayed for me, thank you. If you felt sorry for me, well, thank you for that too. From here on, it was just long, tough climbs and stunning descents. There's nothing like blowing down off of a mountain, dropping 4,000 feet over 9 miles, about a 9% grade in places, and you're going at speeds somewhere touching 50 miles an hour, sometimes a little less or a little more, but it's just an amazing experience. When you reach the bottom, it's time to climb again. I mean, you're going right up another steep climb, and it's not unlike life. There's a lot of ups and downs, and generally the ups are long, hard efforts followed by a few fleeting moments of thrill and joy, and then you've just got to work again. It's just life. Whining doesn't do any good. Somewhere along the way with the team, we needed a word of encouragement along the way, so there was so much talking going on, I finally just turned to the guys and offered them a pearl of wisdom that they embraced, and it's become somewhat of a mantra for our team. And it may sound harsh, but everybody's found application, and I hope you'll find application too. Sometimes in life it really comes down to this. I turned to the guys as we were going up one of the hills, and I'd heard enough, and I was sick, and I wasn't feeling very good, and I just had this momentary vision that would help get us through the day. I said, "Oh, just shut up and pedal." And so here's my wisdom for you today. Sometimes in life you need to just shut up and pedal. You can whine about it, you can talk about it, you can try and change it. It's not going to change. The hill's still going to be there. You got to get over the top. Just shut up and pedal. You're not encouraging anybody or strengthening anybody by talking about how bad it is. Just pedal. And we did. This is day 7. We look really happy. The guy on the left is Dave Peel, local guy, and the guy on the right is Chuck Furr, local guy here in town, also training partners for me. We got through day 7. We look like we're really happy there. This picture is so far from reality. This is so far from reality. This is after we have chugged about 3 chocolate milks and high-fived each other. Well, they're kind of low-five. We didn't have a lot of energy. And we decided we'd take a picture, but we were utterly exhausted and spent. Day 8 was more of the same. Day 9 was the hardest day I've ever known on a bicycle. The ups were just absolutely brutal. The downs were treacherous. When you're blowing around a corner on a bike, 35, 40 miles an hour, coming around a corner, and all of a sudden a cow steps out of the weeds on the side of the road, and a truck's coming in the other direction, and there's a pothole about the size of a Volkswagen in the middle of the road, your options are somewhat limited. And we had lots of excitement. That way. The road conditions were bad. The sun was hot. Roadworks put us well beyond schedule. And we were pulling into the Protea Hotel. By the way, Protea was just bought by Marriott. And the Protea people really were good to us. 7 of our nights were spent. We were sponsored by Protea, so 7 of our nights were spent in beautiful hotels. They took great, great care of us. They probably won't sponsor us next year because of what I did to their hotel room back in Uppington, but they were really good. This is the end of day 9. We're arriving. The staff was all out front applauding for us. My riding partner in the front, I'm there in the second place. Neither one of us saw the people standing there. We didn't see that there was a human being there. We pulled the bikes over, we got off the bikes, we sat down on the ground, and for about a half hour, we really didn't know where we were. It was after dark. We pedaled well past the point of exhaustion, and the guy who laid out the route said it was 100 miles exactly to the hotel. It was 104.75 miles to the hotel, and those 4.75 miles were absolutely merciless. Hotel staff applauded us. We didn't see them. The following morning, before mounting up for the beach, we had an assembly with 400 local kids. We had the mayor there and the chief of police and assorted dignitaries. It was a great, great time. We did a presentation here. I'm talking to the kids about the importance of having a goal, having a dream, talking about the importance of hope. We were able to distribute the Book of Hope, which is just one of the missions organizations I work with, simplified scriptures to kids. This is my first opportunity to distribute the Book of Hope in Zulu. I've been all over Russia with Book of Hope and been in Chile with Book of Hope and Peru with Book of Hope, but I've never been able to distribute it in Zulu, so it was a new language for me. At the end of our assembly, we gave every kid a copy of the book, spent some great time with the kids doing some skits and some other things. And then on day 10, we launched for the beach. On day 10, we were joined by 2 local riders. One guy shows up, we're on road bikes, he shows up on a 29er mountain bike. But when I saw him unloading the mountain bike, I knew this guy is an animal. He had the physique, he had the build, he had the swagger. He just screamed, "I am a biker, don't play with me." And he was an absolute beast. He was able to stay up with road bikes. He was able to stay up, and every once in a while he'd throw in a little attack just to see if we had any gas left in the tank. He just toyed with us and he played with us. The next time I go to South Africa, he said, "I want to ride with you guys," and I'll take him. He was an amazing athlete. But they helped us all the way to the beach at St. Lucia in the Indian Ocean. And what a thrill it was for us to step into the surf. Now this water was warm. This water was bathtub warm. It was absolutely wonderful, but here we are standing in the surf at St. Lucia. And that day when I carried my bike into the surf, I thought of 9,000 training miles, how I'd envisioned it all coming together. I thought about the incredible support of my wife, who really, she's just said, "You can go chase these dreams, it's okay with me." She's never really resented the training time or anything else. She's just been a part of the whole process. But I thought about my wife, and I thought about my incredible church family and friends who came alongside us to help us do something wonderful for kids. And I was walking into the surf and I was wondering, what's next? What do you do after you've crossed the continent? What's the next thing that you put on your radar? And I don't really know at this point. I only know that there is a next. I know that there is a next, and this is why. This is one of our wells. Just about 3 months ago, we drilled the first one. This is one of our wells. These kids are watching water come out of the ground for the first time. These kids won't be carrying buckets down to a polluted river. These kids won't be in danger of crocodiles. These kids are going to have opportunities in education that weren't there for them even a year ago. These kids are going to have some people who are going to be coming on a weekly basis and building into their lives, and hopefully we can help change the world just a little bit. This is what Hope Ride does. This is what Hope Ride does. Hope Ride 14 raised about $90,000. It's only a drop in the bucket when you look at the need in the world. But it's something, and it's a start. And I appreciate the support that I've had from you guys. I appreciate your interest in the project along the way. It means so much to know that there are people there who are holding the ropes with you. And next year when I go, maybe somebody here wants to get a bike and ride about 9,000 miles over the coming year and train and get ready. And I promise you this, I'll take you on a life adventure that'll be different from anything you've ever experienced before. But God bless you guys, and thanks for letting me share today.
Thank you, David. Any questions?
I got a question, David. How a buddy of mine was involved in water in North Africa, and he said on his journeys he was just appalled at the simplicity of people coming over, putting water in, and then like a metal pin would rust. Oh, it's broke. And they would go back to doing what they're doing. You know, the maintenance of the keeping the water pumps going. He said it was just shocking. That was a shocker he found was, gosh, you just need a screw.
Right.
You know, and it was even the competency of the village wouldn't even know to use a screw. I just was curious, you know, with the maintenance, are they in a simplistic maintenance so they can be maintained?
These are incredibly simple. You find these pumps everywhere today, you know, still being used here in the U.S. and places out in the country. But yeah, there is a philosophical thing in that type of village. If you don't take ownership of it, then whoever put it in, they kind of own it. So if it breaks, it's not they don't consider it their, you know, even though it's bringing them water. You put it in, so you own it, so you've got to fix it. And so we learned really quick that when you go and you drill the well, you've got to get the chief and the headmen, and they've got to come out, and even if it's in a menial way, they've got to be part of, you know, of loading the casing, or they've got to be part of the process, because it's only then when you leave them, you say, you know, your chief and your village elders, your chief and your headmen, you know, they drilled this well. We brought the equipment, but they drilled this well. Then they own it. And if they own it and there's a problem, then they're going to contact you. If suddenly it's broken, you're going to hear about it.
That came from Charlie. Remember when Charlie ran across North Africa and he said he'd come across wells that you just need a screw, man. Yeah.
It's everywhere, and it's more than the know-how. They are ingenious people. In many cases, they are just ingenious in the way they can take nothing and make something out of it. But there's this philosophical or mental gap between whether if I own it, I fix it. If I don't own it, then it's up to somebody else to fix. And getting past that hurdle is crazy. Yeah.
With all the violence that's happened throughout the continent in different areas, you know, I mean, the pictures are breathtaking of what you take. Thank you for sharing. Have you ever felt like you were in any danger as you were riding at all?
No, last year in Botswana I felt in danger, but we were out in the Chobe, and so we had wild animals all around us. I felt a little uneasy about camping with the elephants and lions roaring in the distance, but this year, yeah, Mom wasn't really tickled about that whole deal. But you know, the rest of my staff, by the way, just said, "Oh, go ahead, it's all right, go ahead." But no, I haven't really, not where we've been. Zambia is really stable right now. Botswana is stable. South Africa is stable. But we border with Angola. Actually, the Zambezi flows into Angola, so it's kind of a highway in. The border is really porous. So, and Angola can be pretty unstable. And then north of us, you've got Central African Republic and Congo, and it's an absolute mess. So it's close around us, but no danger at this point.
The roads look great.
They look great from the distance. When you get down close, take pebbles about that big just tar them up, only with sharp edges, and throw them down. And it's great if you're in a four-wheel drive vehicle. On a bicycle, it all day long, it just beats you up all day long. And in some of the areas, I didn't have pictures from the areas like in Goma and places like that the roads were unbelievable. But we were able to get through. Only 4 flat tires this year as opposed to 33 last year. We learned a lot, and we put those things into practice. Took our own equipment this year rather than sponsors' equipment, and it made all the difference. Yeah.
Besides just the riders, you obviously have a caravan or a support team with you.
Right.
Who else is, or how many support?
We've got a lead vehicle, and that's driven by our missional partner over there, Jacques. And he's the guy who sets the whole thing up, the route and everything else. So he's up in the front vehicle. I took one of our own guys to take the trail vehicle. He's also a master of fix-it. It doesn't matter what it is. He's an incredible, incredible man. He works for me at Calvary. His name's Matt Rand. And he was in the follow vehicle, and his job's even more delicate because he has to be driving and watching his mirrors. We have to have a beep on the horn if there's a vehicle coming. He's covering us somewhat, but we have to make sure that we're not passing each other or we spread out or we're talking about something because it can go bad really quick. But that rear vehicle serves as a blocker vehicle. You've got one out front. It's best to have 3 vehicles so that you've got a runner because you always need something from the next town, or there's always sometimes for the runner to go ahead and set up a place where you're going to take your break so that when you get off the bike you can throw some food in and get right back on the bike and go. Having that runner is a great advantage. This year we did it with 2 vehicles, so it was a little tight.
Crowd.
Draw one of these. Somebody wants
if you would,
somebody
please.
wants
Yeah.
to win.
There's a winner in there. Last 3.
885.
James Pigram. All right. Thank you, David.
You bet.
Incredible.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
Have a great day. Don't forget the cart fund buckets on your table.
Thank you for the books.
See you next week.
You're welcome. You're welcome.